There was a time when I thought pain meant punishment, when everything fell apart, when I failed, when I lost, when I was betrayed. I believed life was against me. I asked questions like, why me? And what did I do to deserve this? But life doesn't answer you with words. It answers you with transformation. What I thought was destruction was actually construction, the breaking down of who I was, so that something stronger, more real, more powerful could be rebuilt in its place. Pain has a way of showing up uninvited, but always for a reason. It arrives not to hold you back, but to break the walls around you that you built to stay safe. We spend so much of our lives avoiding discomfort, protecting ourselves from rejection, from loss, from failure. But in doing so, we also protect ourselves from growth. You can't grow in comfort. You can't expand while staying safe. Every version of you that's waiting to emerge is trapped behind a wall of your own fear, and pain is the hammer that cracks it open. When you're in the middle of it, pain doesn't look like a gift. It feels like chaos. It feels like everything you knew has been ripped away, but that's the point. Pain strips away what's temporary so you can uncover what's eternal. It burns away illusions, the false beliefs, the borrowed dreams, the identities that never truly belonged to you. What's left after the fire is real. What's left is you. Every breakthrough you've ever had in your life was born from a moment of pain. Think about it. Every time you decided to change, to leave that toxic job, to walk away from that relationship, to start something new, it came because something hurt so deeply that you couldn't stay the same. Pain wakes you up. It demands your attention. It says, this version of you can't handle what's coming next, so it's time to evolve. And here's the truth most people never learn. Pain is not the enemy of joy. It's the path to it. You can't feel deep fulfillment if you haven't known emptiness. You can't truly appreciate love until you've tasted heartbreak. The contrast is what gives life meaning. Without the darkness, the light wouldn't matter. Without struggle, success would feel empty. Without pain, purpose would have no power. The difference between those who stay stuck in suffering and those who rise through it isn't what happens to them, it's what they decide that pain means. Two people can go through the same loss, the same trauma, the same failure. One uses it as a reason to give up, and the other uses it as fuel to rise. The event doesn't define you, the meaning you assign to it does. You can't control what happens, but you can control what it means, and meaning is everything. When you shift your perspective and start asking, what is this here to teach me? Your entire world changes. Suddenly, life stops feeling like it's happening to you and starts feeling like it's happening for you. Every challenge becomes a classroom. Every heartbreak becomes a lesson in strength. Every rejection becomes redirection. That shift doesn't erase pain, but it gives it purpose. And purpose is what turns suffering into strength. Some of the strongest, most compassionate, most unbreakable people you'll ever meet are the ones who have suffered the most. Because pain, when embraced, builds empathy. It teaches you humility. It gives you compassion for others who are fighting silent battles. It connects you to humanity in a deeper way. Pain makes you soft in the right places and unshakable in others. It gives you both fire and heart, the two things you need to create a life that means something. But here's what you must remember. You don't heal by forgetting. You heal by feeling. You heal by facing what hurts, by walking through it instead of running from it. Avoidance keeps you stuck. Acceptance sets you free. The moment you stop saying, I wish this never happened, and start saying, I will grow because this happened, you reclaim your power. You stop being a victim of your past and start becoming the author of your future. There is no growth without friction. Diamonds are created under pressure. Steel is forged in fire. Seeds break apart before they sprout. Everything in nature must endure struggle before it blooms. So why should your journey be any different? The pain you're feeling right now may not make sense yet, but one day you'll look back and realize it wasn't breaking you, it was building you. You are not your pain. You are the power that rises through it. You are the awareness that chooses how to respond, how to interpret, how to move forward. Pain doesn't define you, your response does. And once you understand that, you stop being afraid of it. You start embracing it as a guide, as a messenger, as a sign that you're alive, growing, and evolving. The most beautiful thing about pain is that it doesn't just teach you about strength, it teaches you about gratitude. After walking through darkness, you don't take light for granted. After being broken, you cherish wholeness. After losing, you appreciate what remains. Pain gives you perspective. It grounds you in truth. It teaches you to see beauty even in the mess, even in the chaos. And here's the paradox: when you finally stop resisting pain, it loses its power over you. The moment you stop saying, "I can't handle this," and start saying, "I will grow through this," something shifts inside. You stop fighting reality and start flowing with it. And that flow, that surrender, is where transformation begins. It's where you move from resistance to resilience, from fear to faith, from survival to strength. Every scar you carry tells a story of survival. Every wound that healed became wisdom. And every moment of pain you've endured has brought you closer to the person you were meant to become. So instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "What if this is exactly what I needed?" Because when you do, life opens up in ways you couldn't imagine. Pain isn't here to punish you. It's here to prepare you for greater strength, deeper love, higher purpose, and the unshakable knowing that nothing can break you unless you let it. For far too long we wait. We wait for the right time. We wait for someone to notice. We wait for approval, validation, or a sign that tells us, "Now you're ready." But life doesn't reward those who wait. It rewards those who move, those who step forward despite the doubt, despite the uncertainty, despite not having everything figured out. You don't need permission to become who you were born to be. You just need a decision, the decision to start. Most people never live their full potential because they've been conditioned to seek permission. From childhood, we're told what's acceptable, what's realistic, what's safe. We're taught to color inside the lines, to play by the rules, to be liked rather than be authentic. And then one day, we wake up realizing we've built a life based on other people's expectations instead of our own vision. That's not living, that's existing. An existence without purpose feels like slow suffocation. The truth is, nobody's coming to give you a green light. There is no moment when the world will stand still and say, "Okay, now it's your turn." Life doesn't work like that. Opportunity doesn't knock politely. It hides behind uncertainty. And the people who achieve extraordinary things aren't the ones who had permission. They're the ones who acted without it. They gave themselves the right to try, to fail, to learn, and to rise. You see, permission is an illusion. The only real authority over your destiny is you. The world can give you advice, opinions, and labels, but it can't define your limits unless you accept them. Every time you wait for approval, you hand over your power. You tell the universe, "I'll only move when others say I can." But greatness doesn't ask for approval. It demands courage, and courage means taking the first step before you see the entire staircase. You'll never feel completely ready, and that's the secret nobody tells you. The moment you think, "I'm not ready yet," is the very moment you need to begin. Readiness is built in motion, not in thought. Confidence doesn't come from knowing, it comes from doing. Every master was once a beginner who refused to wait for permission. They started scared. They started imperfect. But they started, and that made all the difference. Think about how many dreams die in silence because someone was waiting. Waiting for the kids to grow up, waiting for the money to come, waiting for the fear to fade, waiting for everything to line up just right. But life is never perfect. It's unpredictable, messy, and beautifully incomplete. The people who change their lives are the ones who decide that waiting costs more than trying. Because every day you wait, you're not avoiding risk, you're choosing regret. At some point, you have to decide who you're living for, the world's opinion or your own potential. If you spend your life chasing approval, you'll never have peace. Because no matter what you do, someone will always disapprove. Someone will always criticize. Someone will always think you're not enough. But here's the truth: you don't need everyone to believe in you. You just need to believe in yourself long enough for the results to speak for you. When you stop waiting for permission, you stop being a follower of circumstances and start being a creator of destiny. You begin to design your life instead of reacting to it. You start asking different questions, not, "Can I do this?" but "What's stopping me from doing this now?" The power of your life shifts the moment you decide that your dreams are non-negotiable. that you will no longer shrink yourself to fit the comfort of others. There's something magnetic about a person who moves with conviction, someone who's not waiting for a nod of approval but guided by an inner compass. That energy draws opportunities, resources, and people who match your level of belief. Because the universe doesn't respond to hesitation, it responds to commitment. The moment you take ownership of your path, doors begin to open. But those doors only reveal themselves once you start walking. It's not arrogance to believe in yourself, it's responsibility. You owe it to the world to show up as your fullest self. There are people waiting for your ideas, your art, your voice, your message, but they can't receive it if you're waiting for someone to give you permission to share it. Every time you hold back your gift, you rob the world of what only you can create. And that's not humility, that's fear wearing the mask of humility. Remember this. Nobody has authority over your dreams except you. Not your parents, not your boss, not your friends, not society. They can have opinions, and they will, but opinions are not destiny. You are the only one who has to live with the consequences of your choices. So why let others dictate how you use your one precious life? If you want to live with freedom, you have to release the need for approval and reclaim the right to make your own decisions. Yes, stepping out will feel uncomfortable. People will question you, some will laugh, some will doubt. That's okay, because growth isn't about being understood, it's about being authentic. And authenticity always attracts the right people while repelling the wrong ones. When you finally stop chasing validation, you start attracting respect. When you stop asking, "Do you think I can?" and start saying, "Watch me," everything changes. The greatest tragedy is not failure, it's potential left unused. It's the book never written, the business never started, the song never sung, the life never lived fully because someone was waiting for permission. Don't let that be you. The dream you have was placed in your heart for a reason. It's not a coincidence, it's a calling, and every time you hesitate, that calling gets quieter until one day you can't hear it anymore. So this is your wake-up call. Stop waiting for the world to approve of your light. Turn it on anyway. Stop waiting for the fear to disappear. Move through it. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission to live. Give it to yourself, because the truth is you always had it. You were born with it. And once you remember that, there's nothing left to wait for. There's a truth that hits hard when you finally see it. You don't just become what you think, you become what you're around. Your energy, your habits, your vision, your standards, they're all shaped by your environment. You might have unstoppable potential inside you, but if you stay surrounded by people who drain your drive, doubt your vision, and dismiss your growth, you'll start shrinking to fit their comfort zones. You don't rise by willpower alone, you rise by the company you keep. Every person you spend time with is either feeding your fire or pouring water on it, and most people never realize how much energy they lose trying to explain their dreams to people who can't even see their own. You start to feel small, not because you are, but because you're standing in places that don't allow you to expand. You start to question your worth, not because you lack value, but because you've been around people who can't recognize it. The wrong environment can suffocate greatness before it ever has a chance to grow. If you plant a seed in toxic soil, it doesn't matter how much potential that seed holds, it won't grow. It's not the seed's fault, it's the environment's. And the same goes for you. You could have the biggest dreams, the deepest passion, the strongest purpose, but if your surroundings don't support it, it'll wither. Growth isn't just about what's inside you, it's about what's around you. You can't bloom in the shade of negativity. Energy is contagious. Spend enough time around fear, and you'll start to doubt yourself. Spend enough time around gossip, and you'll start to lose focus. Spend enough time around laziness, and your ambition starts to fade. But surround yourself with people who think bigger, who act bolder, who challenge you to level up, and your entire identity begins to shift. Because environment doesn't just influence behavior, it shapes identity. Who you spend time with determines who you start becoming. Sometimes, the hardest part of growth isn't learning something new, it's unlearning who you had to be to fit into old spaces. You can't become your next level while staying attached to your last one. There are people who love you dearly, but not everyone can go where you're going. It's not about cutting them off with anger, it's about letting go with grace. Because if you keep holding on to what's comfortable, you'll never reach what's possible. Here's the truth: your energy is your most valuable currency, and every environment is either an investment or an expense. Every conversation, every room, every person, they either recharge you or deplete you. And you can't afford to keep giving your energy away to spaces that make you smaller. Protect your peace. Guard your focus. You don't owe access to everyone who's known your past. Your loyalty should be to your future. Look around. Who challenges you to think bigger? Who celebrates your wins instead of secretly competing with them? Who reminds you of your strength when you forget it yourself? Those are your people. That's your tribe, and if you don't have them yet, build them. Find mentors, communities, voices, books, podcasts, anything that speaks to your growth. The right environment doesn't just change how you think, it changes what you believe is possible for you. You'll know you've outgrown an environment when peace feels louder than approval, when you start craving solitude over shallow conversation, when mediocrity starts to bother you more than it used to. That's not arrogance, that's evolution. It's your soul saying, I can't stay small anymore. Don't ignore that pull. It's your sign that something greater is calling, and the space you're in can no longer hold who you're becoming. Every level of your life will demand a different version of you, and that version will require a different environment. You can't take every mindset, every friendship, every routine into your next chapter. What once supported your survival might now be suffocating your growth. It takes courage to walk away from what's familiar and step into the unknown, but that's where your expansion begins. Growth isn't comfortable, but it's necessary. The more you evolve, the more you'll realize it's not about judging others. It's about protecting your energy. It's about recognizing that not everyone is meant to understand your path because it wasn't given to them. Some people are lessons, not lifelong companions, and that's okay. You can love people from a distance while still choosing spaces that nurture your soul. Think of your environment as a mirror. If you're surrounded by chaos, it's hard to feel clarity. If you're surrounded by doubt, it's hard to feel confidence. If you're surrounded by excuses, it's hard to stay accountable. But when you build an environment of growth, when your surroundings reflect the person you're becoming, you start to operate differently. You start to think higher, move faster, and act with more conviction. And it's not just about people. It's also about what you consume, the media you watch, the content you follow, the words you listen to daily. These things are shaping your energy too. Every message you feed your mind either expands your belief system or limits it. Be intentional about what you allow in, because what enters your mind eventually builds your reality. One of the most freeing things you can ever do is choose your environment consciously. Choose to spend time in places that make you feel alive, not drained. Choose people who remind you of your potential, not your past. Choose conversations that challenge you, not distract you. The moment you make that shift, your energy transforms, and when your energy changes, your life changes. The right environment can unlock parts of you that you never knew existed. It can awaken creativity, courage, and clarity. It can make you believe again, not because life suddenly got easier, but because you finally positioned yourself in a space that supports your highest self. You stop chasing motivation and start living inspired. You stop forcing growth and start flowing in alignment, because at the end of the day, your environment isn't just where you are, it's who you become. And if you want to live an extraordinary life, you must surround yourself with extraordinary energy. Not the loudest, not the flashiest, but the kind that pushes you to keep becoming more. The kind that reminds you you're capable, worthy, and unstoppable. There's a dangerous illusion that society sells us that success equals happiness. That if you just work hard enough, make enough money, achieve enough recognition, you'll finally feel complete. But here's the truth that few dare to admit. Success without fulfillment feels like emptiness in disguise. You can have the world applauding you and still feel a silence inside that no amount of noise can fill. You can have everything and yet feel like you've lost yourself somewhere along the way. We live in a world obsessed with achievement. Every message tells you to hustle harder, climb higher, win bigger. But no one tells you what happens when you get there, when you reach the top and realize the view isn't what you expected. The trophies start collecting dust, the applause fades, and you're left asking the one question that haunts so many: is this it? You see, the problem isn't success itself, it's chasing it without purpose. It's pursuing the dream, but forgetting the reason. Fulfillment isn't found in external achievements. It's born in alignment when what you do, who you are, and what you value are all in harmony. It's when your success reflects your soul, not your insecurities. The reason so many people feel empty after achieving everything they thought they wanted is because they were climbing someone else's ladder. They reach the top only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. You can work yourself to exhaustion trying to prove your worth, but worth was never something you needed to prove. It was something you needed to remember. When you attach your value to achievements, you become a slave to outcomes. You start believing that the next promotion, the next deal, the next milestone will finally make you feel enough, but fulfillment doesn't come from the next. It comes from the now, from living with intention, not just ambition. There's a difference between success and fulfillment. One is measured by results, the other by meaning. Success is about getting, fulfillment is about giving. Success is about the head, fulfillment is about the heart. You can fill your bank account and still bankrupt your spirit. But when you live with purpose, when your actions align with your deepest values, you can have both. You can succeed externally and feel whole internally because your achievements become an expression of who you are, not a substitute for it. The most powerful shift you can make is moving from a mindset of achievement to a mindset of contribution. Ask yourself, how can what I'm doing make someone's life better? Because fulfillment grows where service begins. The happiest people aren't the ones who have the most, they're the ones who give the most. Not necessarily money, but energy, presence, kindness, creativity, love. When your life becomes about something bigger than yourself, that's when success starts to feel meaningful. Many people chase goals thinking they'll feel fulfilled once they achieve them. But fulfillment doesn't come after success, it creates success. When you love what you do, when you find purpose in the process, when your work becomes an expression of your soul, success becomes a byproduct. Fulfillment is the fuel that keeps you moving even when challenges come. It's the reason behind the grind, the heart behind the hustle, and fulfillment isn't something you find once, it's something you choose daily. It's in the quiet moments, not just the highlight reels. It's in doing the right thing when no one's watching, in helping someone without expecting credit, in living true to your values even when it costs you comfort. You build fulfillment by living in integrity, by being the same person privately that you are publicly. When your actions reflect your truth, your spirit rests easy. The tragedy is that many people trade fulfillment for validation. They chase applause instead of authenticity. They measure success by comparison, not connection. But validation fades as fast as it arrives. You can't feed your soul with likes, followers, or status. The moment you start defining your worth by others' approval, you lose control of your peace. True success is silent. It's the kind that feels right in your heart, even if the world doesn't notice. Fulfillment doesn't mean you stop striving. It means you start striving for what matters. It's not about doing less, it's about doing what's aligned. When your vision comes from your values, your ambition becomes sacred. You no longer chase success to feel worthy. You create it because you already are. That's when work feels like purpose, not pressure. That's when achievement feels like expression, not exhaustion. Sometimes fulfillment comes not from reaching more people, but from reaching deeper within yourself. It's about growing, evolving, becoming. It's about turning pain into wisdom, success into service, and experience into empathy. The moments that fill your soul often have nothing to do with recognition, they come from connection. From that quiet knowing that what you did mattered to someone, even if no one else saw it. The paradox of life is that when you stop chasing success and start chasing meaning, success starts chasing you. Because people can feel authenticity, they can sense passion that's real. When your work comes from the heart, it resonates. When your mission is to serve, not impress, you attract more than you could ever force. Fulfillment becomes the magnet that pulls opportunities your way. You don't need to abandon ambition, you just need to elevate it. Don't aim to be the best in the world, aim to be the best for the world. That small shift transforms everything. It turns pressure into purpose, competition into contribution, striving into serving. When your why is bigger than your ego, you become unstoppable. Because fulfillment gives you something success alone never can peace. So take a moment and ask yourself, what truly matters to me? What makes me feel alive? What would I do even if no one clapped? The answers to those questions will lead you back to yourself, to your truth, your essence, your purpose. Because fulfillment isn't out there waiting to be found. It's within you, waiting to be remembered. And once you find it, success will no longer be the goal, it will be the reflection of a life well lived. Every single day, every single moment, life hands you the power to decide. And yet, most people don't even realize it. They drift through life waiting for change, waiting for luck, waiting for timing. But life doesn't change by chance, it changes by choice. The future you dream of isn't something you wait for, it's something you create right here, right now, in the decisions you make today. Every decision is a seed. You plant it with your choices, water it with your actions, and harvest it with your results. Most people underestimate the power of small decisions. They think transformation only happens through big, dramatic moves, but it's the quiet, consistent decisions that shape destiny, the decision to get up when it's easier to stay down, the decision to keep going when quitting feels justified, the decision to believe when everything around you tells you not to. That's where futures are built. You can't control what happened yesterday, but you have absolute control over what happens next. The moment you realize that, you stop being a prisoner of your past and become a creator of your future. Every time you say, I can, every time you choose growth over comfort, faith over fear, discipline over distraction, you're rewriting your story. You're building a future that reflects not where you've been, but who you've decided to become. Too many people wait for motivation to make decisions, but motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. Decisions, on the other hand, are the anchors of progress. You don't need to feel ready to act, you need to decide to act, because action creates clarity, and clarity fuels confidence. You don't think your way into change, you decide your way into it. And when your decisions are aligned with your vision, life begins to move in your favor. Every time you choose, you cast a vote for the person you're becoming. When you choose courage over comfort, you're shaping your identity. When you choose discipline over excuses, you're sculpting your destiny. The power of decision lies not in the act itself, but in who it requires you to be, because once you decide, you burn the bridge to your old life. You commit, and commitment changes everything. There's a quiet moment before every major transformation, that pause between who you were and who you could be. In that silence, one decision can change everything. Maybe it's the decision to finally leave behind what's draining you. Maybe it's to start that dream, to forgive, to heal, to take the risk you've been avoiding. The decision doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be made. Because indecision is a decision to stay the same. Life will always test your resolve. You'll be faced with doubt, fear, temptation, and setbacks. But the strength of your future lies in how you respond when things get hard. Every time you choose faith, when you can't see the outcome, you strengthen your character. Every time you take one more step, when it feels like you can't, you expand your capacity. Decisions made under pressure are the ones that define who you truly are. You see, life doesn't reward those who wish, it rewards those who decide. The world changes for the decisive. Those who say, I'm done waiting, and mean it. Those who say, this ends with me, and act on it. Those who understand that change isn't something that happens to them. It's something that happens through them. Your future is waiting for you to decide that the old story ends here, that the next chapter begins today. And the beauty of it all is this: you don't have to have all the answers before you start. Most people freeze because they can't see the whole path, but you were never meant to. You only need to see the next step and take it. Every step forward reveals the next one. Every decision in alignment builds momentum, and momentum, once created, becomes unstoppable, because momentum is the language of destiny. It's easy to get lost in the noise of someday. Someday I'll start the business. Someday I'll get healthy. Someday I'll follow my dream, but someday is a thief. It steals your energy, your purpose, your potential. The only time that's real is now. This moment, the one you're in, is the doorway between your old life and your new one. And it's not waiting for you to feel ready. It's waiting for you to decide. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a powerful decision, because decisions ignite change. Once you decide, the universe rearranges itself around your commitment. People show up, resources appear, paths unfold, but none of that happens until you decide. Decision is the signal that tells life, I'm serious. And once you send that signal, life starts to respond. Think about every major turning point in your life. It started with a decision. Maybe it was scary, maybe it was uncertain, but you made it. And that one choice opened doors you never knew existed. That's how life works. Destiny doesn't reveal itself until you move. It doesn't show up in hesitation, it shows up in motion. The act of deciding creates momentum that fear can't stop. So ask yourself, what decision have you been postponing? What truth have you been avoiding? What part of your life is waiting for you to choose something different, because no one's coming to do it for you? The moment you take ownership of that truth, your power returns. You stop drifting and start directing. You stop surviving and start creating, and creation begins the instant you say, enough, I decide. Every great future begins in a single moment of clarity, the moment you realize you already have what it takes. That you don't need permission, timing, or luck. You just need the courage to decide and follow through, because one decision made in faith is worth more than 1,000 made in fear, and one decisive moment, fully embraced, can alter the entire trajectory of your life. So don't wait for the right time. Make the time right by deciding now, because your destiny isn't somewhere out there. It's being shaped in this exact moment by the choices you're making right now. Every decision is a brushstroke on the canvas of your future, and the masterpiece you're meant to create begins the moment you stop waiting and start deciding.